Power, loyalty, and family. No, this is not some shitty Fast and Furious movie. This is The Godfather. When in doubt, ask the Don. The movie opens with a pan out of a father, Bonacera, reminiscing of the terrors of raising a rebellious daughter that ended up getting assaulted by two men. And those two men went released without any punishment or any justice being upheld. As many people did, and as we see in this movie, this father came to Don Corleone, or Vito Corleone, to ask for a favor. He wanted those boys killed. Side note, do you think that if the mafia stayed out of drugs entirely, they would still be as powerful as they once were? Leave your answers in the comments below. This introduction to the movie is actually where we get the famous lines,
"You come into the house on the day of my daughter's to be married."
Insert existing request. Don Corleone says that he will help, but a day is going to come, maybe not anytime soon, but a day will come where the Don is asking for a favor.
Godfather?
Good. Someday, and that day may never come, I'll call upon you to do a service for me.
Ultimately, what we see here is that the Don is powerful and well respected. He's a mafia boss who is called upon to grant favors, settle disputes within the Italian-American community. Because fun fact, every single type of person has been discriminated against, and the Italians were no different. The three parts of The Godfather shows the entire story of the Corleone family, but this movie in particular is all about the start of Michael Corleone and the fall of Vito Corleone. It does start with the prime Vito, with him handling day-to-day situations leading up to him being assassinated or attempted assassination. Another assassination attempt, which was very successful, was Vito's eldest son, Sonny, because he was killed in retaliation for the war that was going on. Because of the attacks on his father, his family, and what he thinks is his community, and the death of his older brother, Michael is now drawn into the fold of the world of organized crime. We watch as Michael becomes more and more involved in the family business. In the family business, you know what I mean? And we see him be a tactful, in fact, a really good leader. He eventually succeeds his father as head of the Corleone family. Papa Vito was sick at the end of his life, and we have a scene of him playing with one of his grandchildren, and this is where he unfortunately passes away with his tomatoes. And for those that say he was a weak leader and he should have been gone a long time ago, well, he was shot 5 or 6 times in the gut, and he recovered, mind you. Now, ultimately, I do want to get into the theme of this movie, as well as the legacy and influence that is left. This is so important because it is the bread and butter across generations. It not only preserves traditional values, and if you're a human, it shows how we can honor our ancestors. It gives us that sense of belonging. And honestly, I think we should have a turn towards traditional values. With that heartfelt, tear-jerking moment out of the way, I do want to discuss the 5 most famous scenes from this movie briefly, and then we'll get right back into that tear-jerking stuff. The grand wedding reception, where Vito Corleone receives requests and offers favors, setting the stage for the family's power dynamics. It's a gruesome warning to a movie producer, Jack Waltz, who refuses to cast Vito's godson in his film, illustrating the Corleone's family for ruthlessness. This is actually one of my favorite, but this is where Michael Corleone calculates the assassination of Salazzo and the police captain, Mikulski. This really marked his transition from reluctant outsider to ruthless leader. The baptism scene is 100% Pulp Fiction, interweaving scenes of Michael becoming the godfather to his sister's child with the violent executions of the family's enemies. This showcases the consolidation of power. The final scene is also one of those on the top tier list, where Michael sits down alone as the new Don, his wife Kay realizing the transformation of the depth of his involvement in his family crime activities, symbolizing the cost of power and the loss of innocence. Kay, can you get me a beer as well? The themes power, loyalty, and family. At its core, The Godfather explores themes of power, loyalty, and the complexity of family dynamics, especially a complex family that is the mafia. Vito Corleone values loyalty above all else, and expects his family members to prioritize the interests of the family above their own desires. However, always comes at a cost, leading to betrayal and tragedy. If you haven't heard the story of Icarus, this is something that always happens, and we need to be aware of it. The film also examines the moral ambiguity of the characters' actions. While the Corleones justify their criminal activities as a means of protecting their family, they are not immune to corruption and violence that inherits their world. Michael's transformation from unwilling outsider to a brutal leader illustrates the seductive allure of power and the moral compromises it demands. This movie has tones of legacy and influence, but more importantly, it has left a legacy and influence in media. Released in 1972, The Godfather was both a critical and commercial success, earning widespread acclaim for its direction, performances, and screenplay. The Godfather is often cited as one of the greatest films ever made, praised for its epic scope, intricate plot, and profound themes. This movie's influence can be seen in countless subsequent films and television shows that have explored similar themes of crime, power, and family. Overall, I'm rating this a 9 out of 10. It did feel a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. Ultimately, it was a great watch and it built the characters up well. If you made it to this part of the video, let me know, would you like an apparel-based product that is derived from movies? I really love the American traditional tattoos, and I think apparel with that on there from our favorite movies would be really cool. Let me know if it's dumb down in the comments. I appreciate every single one. Anyways, if you're ever interested about watching the funniest movie that no one ever watched, it's actually called Gentlemen Broncos, and it's right here because this video has ended.